jostling for position as the top cruise topics are cabin types, drinks packages, dress codes, and food. Here is almost everything you need to know about the dining options on board P&O Iona. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we go. Let's start at the bottom, figuratively if not literally, the buffet. Iona's buffet is a decent size, but it's a big ship with a big capacity. It's just about big enough to keep up, but when it does get busy, it can feel a bit claustrophobic. There are not enough hand washing stations for the traffic at busy times, but sadly, there is never a queue. Wash your damn hands, you animals! The quality of the food varies between quite good and quite disgusting, but on the whole, it's as good as you can expect for the price that you pay. You'll find all the usual suspects: a salad bar, there's always a roast dinner of some kind, various curries, stews, pasta, you know the drill. And whilst it might not be your favourite venue, you'll always find something to chew on and you won't die. The one thing that I would avoid is the cakes and puddings. The choice on Iona at almost every dining venue is gelatinous empty calories, cheese and biscuits, or a fruit plate. My other top tip is do not sit next to these guys. Despite leaving a jacket on the chair, a £1,000 phone and a £600 camera on the table, and staying within line of sight whilst getting a coffee, these beasts will use your plate to discard their rubbish, and then pretend that they can't hear you when you ask them if they thought you weren't coming back. Despite all the evidence that made it obvious that you were, they were still pretending they couldn't see me when I took this snap. But if you look really closely, you can tell that they've noticed. The buffet is a 5 out of 10. There's another casual dining venue just a hop, skip and a jump away in the Sky Dome. Taste 360, the poolside grill. This has got all the low quality rubbish that you'd expect to find. Burgers, fries, hot dogs, nuggets, fish fingers, pizza, all that kind of stuff. Having said that, the burgers are actually really good. The rest is junk, but that's okay. That's what poolside grills are. Judging it for what it is, rather than what you'd like it to be, Day 360 is a good 6 out of 10. The holy ghost of this unholy, come along whenever you like trio is the Quays. An alternative to the buffet, which is like a small shopping centre food court. There's a fish and chip shop, a noodle bar and a burger bar. Again, this is not fine dining, but it's not pretending to be. The fish and chips are quite nice, although I'd prefer if they waited for the fish to grow up a bit before they bash them on the head and threw them in the fryer. The burgers are reasonable, and frozen french fries are the same the world over. I don't know what the noodles are like. They certainly look like the sugar and E-number dishes that you get at takeaways and service stations across the land, but that's why I didn't try them. At breakfast time, the chippy becomes a pancake and waffly, the Asian kitchen becomes an omelette station, and the burger bar serves up a full English breakfast. The omelettes are rocking, and if you know the top secret recipe, then you can actually treat yourself to a patented cruise tube breakfast pizza. There is fruit and pastries around the corner where puddings live later in the day, and there's all the sour, powder-based fruit juice and machine coffee you can drink. The Quays is better than a 6, but probably not as good as a 7 out of 10. Iona has 4 main dining rooms. Wow, 3 really. The largest is a huge 2-storey affair at the back of the ship with awesome views out over the wake. P&O like to pretend that this is 2 separate restaurants. Upstairs is called Coral and downstairs is called Pearl. There are also 2 smaller main dining rooms that you'll pass on your way, and they're called Aqua and Opal. The only real difference is the size and the decor. Each one serves the same menu from the same kitchen. At breakfast time, there's cereals, toast, pastries, and a few hot options. Service can be a bit on the slow side sometimes, but I'm old, so I'm never in a rush. These eggs and sausages took 45 minutes to arrive, and I'm still waiting for the bacon now, 2 weeks later? Lunchtime options are lighter, but you can still have 3 courses if you wish. I tend to go light at lunch, and then stuff my fat face at dinner. The main dining room food is decent. It's not high-end or fancy, but again, it's better than anyone should expect for the price of the fare. I'm a traditionalist, so my dining preference is always first sitting on a large shared table. Unfortunately, that's not an option on Iona, it's all freedom dining.
Most people seem to like using the Not app to join a virtual queue, which is where you stick your name down and then they'll ping you a notification when they can get you in, to whichever venue you've picked. You can also just turn up and wait, or, as I do, just book a table like you would at a restaurant on land. If you don't mind paying a bit extra, then there are some upcharge dishes available. On my last trip, I ordered all 3 of the options in the blue box. Starter, take it or leave it. The main course was really great. I enjoyed it a lot. This pudding was very much like a punch in the face for my tongue, and the 5 pence that it cost when you're buying the starter and the main was honestly about £10 too much. All things considered, the MDRs are fine. 5, maybe even a 6 out of 10. There's a restaurant tucked away by the Quays on Deck 8 called the Olive Grove. It's a Mediterranean restaurant, and as all Italian and Med-style restaurants seem to be, it's got a kind of naff garden centre vibe. There's a few upcharge dishes, but plenty of included options, and the food is a solid 7 out of 10. I'm just not really a big fan of Indian food. I can eat it, but it'd never be my first choice, and I certainly wouldn't pay extra for it, so I haven't been to Sindhu on any ship. But it routinely gets rave reviews, so I've got to assume that if you like Indian food, then you'll love Sindhu. Keel and Cow is more or less Miller and Carter at sea, minus the weird enormous lettuce wedge. It's fine, the food's better than the main dining rooms and significantly worse than any restaurant on a Virgin ship. But on the bright side, at least you aren't on a Virgin ship. There's a big fat cow for BBs to have their photo taken with, and if you love paying extra for a meal so you can enjoy the constant "excuse me mate" as people shuffle past using the restaurant as a corridor, then this is the place for you. 6, maybe 7 out of 10. The glass house is primarily where people go to get sloshed, but you can prolong your sobriety by soaking up the booze with small tapas-style dishes. The food is actually really good, but again, it's part of the atrium, and Ionians use it as a corridor and wander through whilst you're dining. It's not really much more than a 7, but it's a higher 6 than Keel and Cow. The beach house is a curious little place. It'll cost you about £10, and for that you get a choice of 3 courses, and there's a few extra dishes that are a bit more again. It's sort of Mexican Nando's. English people lap it up, but just like when I went to Nando's with a Portuguese girl, a Mexican would look at what's on offer in here and say, "What the actual fun." The party trick dish is a steak on a stone, a bit of meat served on a hot stone that you cook yourself at the table. Imagine paying extra for dinner, then cooking it yourself, and thinking that was a treat. When I worked on ships, every time we hit Madeira, the other shoppies and I would go to a place in the harbour for steak on a stone. And at that time, I, like most Iona guests, thought, what a great way to eat. But between hanging up my gloves and hanging up everything else, I actually owned a restaurant serving steak on a stone. And now I realise the real reason places do it is not because it's amazing. It's because it is so easy that a dinner lady could single-handedly handle the kitchen for 100 covers? Whack some chips in the fryer, slap a steak onto the platter and send it out. What was that? Your steak's overcooked? Not my problem. You cooked it, moron. I'm not reviewing ripples, it's ice cream. If you want an ice cream, then go there. If you don't, don't. The Limelight Club is £20-30 depending on who's performing. It's dinner and a show. I've been on Iona twice. The first time, the act on board didn't appeal to me, so it just wasn't my thing. I won't name the act because it's only personal taste, not a reflection on them. The second time, well, same. Again, I won't name the act. It was Jonathan Wilkes. Epicurean is P&O having a go at fine dining. Now, it's a bit like when your mum makes cheese on toast and calls it a pizza, or she knocks up an Aldi burger and calls it Five Guys. It is not fine dining. Get that label out of your head though, and it is a perfectly enjoyable place to have a meal, but not afternoon tea. The afternoon tea is the change for change's sake that doesn't really work nonsense that you'd expect on Virgin voyages. The waiter apologetically sprays some Glade at you and wheels out some naff sandwiches and cakes with some OK scones. At dinner time though, the menu is quite a bit better than the included stuff available elsewhere. You'll probably end up having double late night snacks after eating here though. Lobster is always much less filling than you expect, does he leave behind more than we need? And this massive pile of four chips, well, that's not going to fill you up either. In a rare departure from the norm, puddings in here, they're okay. Epicurean, 7 out of 10. Last, and honestly, probably least, chef's table. This is included in your fare, and it's only on gala night. So you'll also get a free glass of, well, who knows what. Not champagne, because it's always vaguely referred to as fizz. Now, to the untrained eye, this can look just like a bit of the buffet with tablecloths and people looking wildly overdressed for their surroundings, lapping up some buffet quality food pretending to be more. But if you, like me, know what you're looking for, then actually, that's exactly what it is. I went for the classics, gloopy French onion soup that I assume was made from a big sack of powder and some boiling water, a beef Wellington that's as delicious as an actual Wellington, and a crappy gelatini pudding that I was lumbered with because they didn't have any cheese left. Chef's table, 4 out of 10. Well, that, folks, is your lot. There are plenty of options. On the whole, they're decent enough, and you have to remember the price that you are paying to be on Iona. It is definitely better than anyone has a right to expect. Try them all, avoid afternoon tea and chef's table, get an ice cream if you want one, and cross your fingers that Jonathan Wilkes isn't performing. Dining options on P&O Iona, done.